In this video, we're going to learn about molecular mass. So molecular mass is kind of self-explanatory. It's the mass of one molecule, and it's measured in atomic mass units. And you find the molecular mass by adding the mass of each atom in the molecule together. So our first example would be to find the molecular mass for water, or H2O. So the way we would solve that would be, we'd write down the mass of H2O equals the mass of H2 plus the mass of oxygen. So now we need to go to our periodic table and find out what the mass of each. So we have two hydrogen atoms, so we're going to have to multiply the atomic mass by 2. So it's going to be 2 times 1.01 atomic mass units, and then the atomic mass for oxygen is 16.00. So multiply that out, so we got 2.02 plus 16.00, and that makes a grand total of 18.02 atomic mass units. And that's how you solve for molecular mass. In our second example, we're going to find the molecular mass for carbon dioxide. So again, it's going to be the mass of carbon dioxide is equal to the mass of one carbon atom plus 2 times the mass of an oxygen atom, because there's 2 oxygens. So the mass of carbon is 12.01 atomic mass units, and then the mass of oxygen is 16.00. We need to times that by 2. So that's going to be 12.01 plus 32.00. We add those two values together, and we should get 44.01 atomic mass units. So our next example is a little bit trickier because we're dealing with a polyatomic ion, and there's brackets and subscripts inside and outside of the bracket. So the first thing we should probably figure out is how many atoms of each type we have. So first of all, we have 3 magnesium, and then we have a phosphate within the bracket, but there's a 2 outside, so that means that we have 2 phosphate. And then there's a subscript beside the oxygen, so within the brackets there's 4 oxygens, but then there's 2 whole phosphates, so that means that it's 2 times 4, so we have 8 oxygens. So now let's solve for the molecular mass. We have the mass of magnesium phosphate equals 3 times the mass of magnesium plus 2 times the mass of phosphorus plus 8 times the mass of oxygen. So that equals 3 times 24.30 plus 2 times 30.97 plus 8 times 16.00. So you'll notice for solving these types of problems, you actually need to have a periodic table handy at all times. So we'll continue to work through that problem. So the first one, 3 times 24.30 equals 72.90 plus 2 times 30.97. So that is 61.94 plus 8 times 16.00. So that's 128.00. Now we need to add those values together. And you should get a value of 262.84 atomic mass units. So now there's a few problems for you to solve. So to practice, you need to find the molecular mass for magnesium sulfate, hydrogen peroxide, sodium hydroxide, and calcium hydroxide. So take some time to solve each of those, and then you can check on the next slide to see if you were correct. So now let's check our work. So if you take a look at the first one, we had magnesium sulfate. So there was 1 magnesium, 1 sulfur, and 4 oxygens. So the atomic mass for magnesium is 24.30. The atomic mass for sulfur is 32.07. And then 4 times the atomic mass of oxygen, so 4 times 16. Add those all together and you should end up with a molecular mass of 120.37 atomic mass units. H2O2, or hydrogen peroxide, there's 2 hydrogens, so 2 times 1.01, and then 2 oxygens, so 2 times 16, and that should even out to be 34.02 atomic mass units. Sodium hydroxide, you have 1 sodium, so 23.00, plus 1 oxygen, 16.00, and 1 hydrogen, so 1.01. That adds up to 40.01 atomic mass units. Our last example, we're dealing with the polyatomic ion again in some brackets. So we have 1 calcium, so 40.08, plus 2 oxygens, so 2 times 16, and 2 hydrogens, so 2 times 1.01. And that gives you a grand total of 74.10 atomic mass units.